Welcome to the Bringing Hope Home podcast. We're Bryce and Colette Schaefer, pastors, teachers, and madly in love empty nesters. We invite you into our home as we candidly share faith-filled, practical ways to build a strong and lasting marriage.
Hey, welcome back to Bringing Hope Home. We are Bryce and Colette Schaefer, and today we are talking about empty nesting, which we've been there for a while.
Right, and it's kind of that season right now for many new empty nesting parents.
Yeah, maybe you have your first one either off to college or maybe your last one. Either way, it's a transition.
Yep,
Yeah,
and
I
everyone's
think it was
a little
almost
different.
Harder the first one when they
They
left.
all are unique.
Yeah, I think the first one was hard because the family was never going to be the same again.
Yep, that's right.
It was all different, and then second one you're into it,
Yeah, it's just like another whole.
and then the third is okay. Well, we have 3 kids. Your last is like okay.
Oh, okay.
this is a different.
This will be different. And I gotta say, I've enjoyed empty nesting to this point. We're now coming into year 4, so it's been a while now
Yeah.
of empty nesting, and
And now all of them are married.
yep, and all are married. So to me, how you look at it and what you're planning and how you're approaching your life is really key at this point. Because there's so many times where parents don't plan this stage of their lives because they're so focused, engrossed, helping because they're just because it needs the help, and we see where there's so many holes for their kids, and they forget about themselves. And we don't want you to forget about you, because a strong, healthy marriage, regardless of everything else, will take care of itself.
You're right. It should be a new spark to your married life.
Yes. Well, that's the way we approached it.
To get back to where just the 2 of you. We had 4 years before we
Yep,
had
almost 4.
our first, and almost 4. And I know some have less than that. So, it's really a time to get back. I mean, it can be put the spark back in and,
Rediscover each other. Ooh, yeah.
It's fun.
Yeah, it's great. And, and like everything else, empty nest is a season. It too shall pass, and things will change, and grandkids and all this other things will happen. But there is this time that we certainly see it rock a few people's worlds with this empty nesting stuff. And it's also kind of, I think one of the reasons it does that is because in this time frame of our lives, it's kind of that midlife crisis kind of stage as well in a lot of us.
Well, I think you realize how fast time goes. 18 years is really not that much. 18, 19 years that you have your kid. Really not that many years in the scheme of things. And so it all...
Yeah. Now, I do have to say, most of us kind of have been here before to lesser degrees. I know as a basketball coach, at the end of every basketball season, I feel kind of this loss because I'm not going to practice every day. I'm not talking to the coaches
right.
every
There
day.
is part that
So
you
there's
grieve.
there's this grieving. I remember at the end of college classes every semester, it was like crickets. It was like, what am I going to do? Twiddling my thumbs, and it's like, oh man, I have all this time. Now
It's
what?
true when your kids are involved in a lot of activities. It does feel like there's a hole. You're not part of the team. You're not part of. There's so many things that we do as parents.
Yeah, so I'm saying we have these moments, and we've had some before. They're just so much smaller, and we just roll with those punches.
Yeah.
And then this one seems so much bigger and greater divide, but it isn't.
Yeah.
Have the same mindset, because the new things will come if you allow them.
Yep.
And so we want to talk about that. And the first thing is this mindset in this new big gap, because you're going to say, like we just said, our family will never be the same. So you could dwell on that and get pretty anxious and kind of
And try to hold on to what was.
Yeah, and try to keep it the way it was. So don't do those. So everything, you got to remember, everything is bound to change. A couple different ways of looking at this. Life is better when things change. It really is. Just think about that statement. Life is better when things change. Because if not, the same old, it gets pretty stagnant and not good. So that's number one. Another one, now there's more time for me and my spouse. We've already kind of talked about that one, but be excited for that. Rekindle the flame. The next one, staying the same is harmful for everyone. You know, even in our relationship as a married couple, I hope we grow from where we were when we first got married.
Right.
I don't want to be that same person. So it's growth is, and part of it is that change. Mm-hmm. You know, the only thing that should stay constant is God's word and his love. You know, Christ himself. You know, you can throw all that in our lives. That's the only constant. You know, Jesus says, I'm the same yesterday, today, and forever. God says, I never change. Well, that's the only thing.
But we still should be growing in him.
Mm-hmm. And we grow, but they don't. He doesn't.
Yeah.
Another one, find joy in the meaning of this stage. You know, I really had to find joy when we had babies. I at first, and I used to thought I was going to be great with kids, but finding the joy in just changing dirty diapers and feeding and losing sleep and always
for me, I felt fulfilled.
need, and I was like, oh my goodness, this is. I couldn't wait till they were like 4 or 5, where I could take them places and do things, and so I had to find joy there. Yeah, and see, like you're saying, you're the most fulfilled.
Yeah, I was fulfilled as a.
But I think in empty nesting, I think we got to find the joy as well. Mm-hmm. What's the joyful part of all this? And then
finding your role as a parent again, that's different.
It is a new role, and we'll talk about that here in a second. And you know, in anything, you can become bitter or better. You can be resentful or thankful. I'm so thankful for these last 18, 19, 20 years. Mm-hmm. They were such joys, and it was so good. I'm so thankful of where they're headed, and I mean, just those kind of things. Mm-hmm. So that's really good. So. You know, how do you handle this process? So we want to quickly just touch on a few things.
Yeah, a little point is that help with it.
Yeah, help with it. Now, the one thing I do want to, before we get there, is, you know, what if your child isn't quite leaving the nest yet? You know, they're out of high school or whatever, and they're staying because they're just going right into the workforce, or there's a myriad of reasons. And that's okay too.
The cost of living is...
Right, the cost of living is so high that your kid just said, you know what, I'm going to stay home for a little bit longer. You say, really? Do you have to? No, but you have the mindset, but change that. The roles should change a little bit. The boundaries need to change. So have a discussion with your child, even if they're staying, that, you know, how are we going to run things?
Right.
Yes,
you're in my... A lot of parents say, well, under my roof, my rules. Yeah, but... when your adult child now, right, after they've graduated from high school, they're now classified as young adults. And so you gotta have that separation there and give them more leeway. Yep. It can't be the same, you know, you need to put your phone away and you have a curfew of this time, you need to be home. Yeah. Watch those, because... Oh, that's not good. We could have a whole... podcast on this, but just know that, and you don't have to be their shadow anymore. Right. Don't be their shadow. You're not their caretaker. You don't have to clean up their room. You know, maybe they need to pay a little something for a room. Yeah, there could be a whole podcast. I mean, maybe we'll do another podcast. But I just wanted to touch on this because you might be listening and it's like, well, this doesn't apply to me. Well, there you go. Yeah. There's a little extra. So anyway, I think we're coming up with another podcast for sure. But another one. So don't wait for your child to move out to start this process. You know, it is a kind of a gradual process. If you notice in your kid's senior year, and we're teachers, so you see it every year with every kid, they start pushing the boundaries, they start... Second semester. Oh my. Woo. It's, you know, and so the process starts. And so you as a parent also need to start the process. Instead of butting heads with your child, know that this is part of the plan. This is God's plan of helping them leave the nest. Right. And if you go along with it,
Right.
then it's going to be joyful. You know, you won't hit heads.
Yeah, so that's good. And so just start planning for sure.
And I don't think you have it on here, but one of the things that we did too to help our kids get ready and us.
Yep, I didn't put this one.
Was my parents live 4 hours from us. And so each of our kids, between their junior and senior year, they went and stayed with my parents and worked for a summer. They
2
live in the
months.
Black Hills, so a lot of tourist stuff going on. So
Easy to find a job.
Yeah, so they lived with them and worked and everything for a summer. So it was really good for them. First of all, we're from a little small town, so they could learn to drive in a bigger place.
Mm-hmm.
But they were kind of on their own, but had, you know, my mom and dad to kind of help them. And then it also helped us know what it was going to feel like that next year, because we didn't have them around for that summer. So we really didn't have any negatives. All 3 of our children did that between their junior and senior year. And I think it was just very impactful for our family. So if you have that opportunity,
or
with
create
a
something like that for
relative or
yourself.
something.
Yeah, I think that one's fantastic.
Yeah.
You know, with your spouse, when you're sitting at the table or other places, going somewhere, start dreaming of life without your child right next to you.
Yeah, there are vacations you want to go.
Right. And so, again, your child is always going to be in your life. That's a guarantee. And that's the fun part, is it's going to change and morph the role and relationship that you have with your children. But with your spouse, now you can start, okay, we haven't been able to do X, Y, and Z yet. Well, let's put those on the calendar, kind of deal. So those are fun. You know, and I don't know, that's to me is a neat part.
Yeah.
Make new routines, you know, reprioritize some things, find a new hobby, you know, start creating a life without them a little bit, especially that summer of transition. You know, this podcast will be coming out after the summer of transition, but either way, just, you know, start having some new routines and enjoying that a little bit. So that's important. You know, make a plan with your child on how you're going to stay connected.
Yes.
Yeah. Mama's hearts need this.
Right. You know.
And that's okay to say, you know what, son or little Missy.
And each are different.
Yeah.
I mean,
go ahead, take this one. This is after your heart.
Our oldest called all the time and talked to me. And in fact, it was like, okay, son, there is Google for some of these questions, right? You don't need to call mom for everything. Google it. So he would call all the time, and it was awesome that he called. Then with our other 2, I had to say, hello, put it in your phone to call mom at least, you know, once every 2 weeks. I don't even care if it's every week, but at least every 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Put a note to call. Yes, it goes both ways, but you know, a lot of times when they're so busy, it's hard to know when to.
Yes. Yep.
They're available. So I would tell them, put it in a notification to call.
Yep.
Because that's important, just to touch base.
I don't think you should expect conversation or contact every day, like you said, but you should contact them and have this time.
I don't know if every day is.
No, I don't think it's
healthy. Again, each relationship is different.
Right.
You know, with my daughter and I, we had that time of pulling away. She went to college and everything. Well, now, again, she and her husband live right next to us. So we see each other every day. We work together every day. So our relationship now is best friends. And when we don't talk to each other, it's like,
Yeah, missed that.
But it's not it's a different relationship. It has evolved. And so when that time of breaking away, college, we didn't talk every day. I let her be her and have her time with her friends and, you know, that season too. And so we talked, but it wasn't, you know, what are you doing?
Yeah.
And having to know, you know, don't be those overbearing parents that need to know all the details. Where are you going? What are you doing?
Yeah, don't be a helicopter parent. Not in high school or in the other. But, and FaceTime's awesome. Some of those other tools are great. So, use them, but have a plan with your child. The next one, and I think this is a big one, because usually when you're the one that's staying behind, it seems harder because there's no excitement. Yours is a hole. Theirs is going to something new. But you need to see it as the parent of being excited for their next step. What has God prepared them for? Where is God taking them? This is where you really can put God into it and just start being excited for them and their next steps.
Pray for them.
Yeah, pray for them. I mean, when you start getting excited for them, your focus on you and your sadness for them to leave doesn't leave you, but it certainly changes. And that's like praying for your enemies. When you pray for your enemies, things change. God, when God is put in there, so
praying for them really does help,
right?
Because it takes all your fears and stifles them, and
right?
Just you can surround them with faith and.
Yeah, faith and love, and praying for their spouse, the spouse to be, and meet the right friends, and I don't know, just get excited for them. I think is important in there for sure, and looking forward to what God has for them in their lives. So that's key. Yeah. Other than that, I think empty nesting is definitely something personal. So talk to your spouse. If you're feeling something, and we're all feeling it, usually us guys, us dads, we stuff it,
Sometimes.
And sometimes we don't, but, and we do it in our own way.
We talk to different parents,
how they dealt with it. But again, don't just bottle it up and don't be too hovering.
Be excited about this next phase.
For them and you.
For them and you.
Yeah.
Change is good.
Yeah.
It is what we're supposed to do, right?
That's right.
So, all right. Well, thanks for tuning in today. If you have any questions that you would like, a topic that you would like us to cover, let us know. You can email us at hello@schaeferministries.com, or I think you can comment below if this is YouTube. There's different ways to get a hold of us, but let us know a question that you have, and we would love to address that. We've done that before. Get a hold of all of our other resources down below. The Marriage Builders course is an awesome resource that you can just go on your own pace, right? And then we also have coaching. It's a 12-week program. So if you and your spouse would like just a little extra, it's an awesome opportunity to invest in you, invest in your marriage, and we can't say enough about that.
You won't be disappointed.
Right. So that information also is below. So until next time, bring hope home to your life today.
If you're listening on the Apple Podcast app, give us a 5-star rating and drop a review. If you're listening on Spotify, give us a follow. And if you're watching on YouTube, hit the subscribe button. See you next week.